As I often remind myself and my fellow nuns and everybody else, we really need just to follow the Mangala Sutta and the Metta Sutta for us to get enlightened, or rather to get awakened to the truth that the Buddha has taught. This two is enough to send us towards awakening. Yep. So really, with much gratefulness to the Buddha for his teachings left behind for us. Okay. Do I continue now? Okay. Right. So, what prompted me to choose the topic for today is I was actually just last week asked a question. Ayya Upekkha, what do you mean by everything is mind-made? What do you think? Anybody wants to come up with an answer? You can attempt, according to how we understand it. Okay, a mic for them, please. Mic for them. What do you mean by everything is mind-made? Please, pass the mic to them, please. Yeah, come. Put up your hand, please, yeah.
Is mindset.
Our mindset, okay. Anyone else with another answer?
The mind is the forerunner of everything.
Yeah, but do we actually know what it means? Because we can all recite the Dhammapada and all that, but do we really know what it means? So what do we mean by everything is mind-made? Okay, let's close our eyes and take an experiment. Close our eyes. I think this is one place that everybody identifies with. If there's anyone who doesn't, I'm sorry, but I think this is a place that everybody knows about. Close your eyes and then think of McDonald's. Is McDonald's now in your mind? Is somebody thinking of Kentucky chicken? Think of McDonald's. Is McDonald's now in your mind? Yes? Yes? No? You have to use your mind to think of McDonald's. Or you can actually just think of something else, but I'm asking, please think of McDonald's. If you have not been to McDonald's, then I'm sorry, this is something you probably didn't condition your mind with. But if we have been to McDonald's, the moment you mention McDonald's, think of McDonald's will appear in our mind. Has McDonald's deposited itself inside our body, inside our mind? It's too big to go in. Not even a grain of sand can go into our eye because we can never be able to tolerate this. But the moment your mind wants to think of something, it thinks of something. There's something that you want to think of. Our mind is so powerful. It is actually called the architect of our life, of our suffering, or of our happiness. That is the power of the mind. The mind is so magnanimous. What we can do, another experiment, think of the universe. Close your eyes. Can you think of the universe according to your understanding of what universe is? Close your eyes. Think of the universe. Is the whole big universe now appearing in your mind? For me, yes. According to my understanding of how the universe looks like, all the planets, all the galaxies, all the stars, all the moon, all the sun, everything go flashing by, flashing by, flashing by. It's just so big and wide, so vast. That's the power of our mind. And that is what is meant, according to my understanding, okay, by everything is mind-made. Okay. Our mind can manifest anything through our speech, through our bodily behavior, through our imagination. Our mind can recollect the past, our mind can forerun into the future. Although the Buddha has taught us to really live in the present moment, which is the most peaceful and happy moment, it's almost quite difficult to really live in the present moment because our mind likes to cling to the past and venture into the future. Yeah. So when this person asked me, Ayya Upekkha, what do you mean by everything is mind-made? I was wondering, how do I explain something that you cannot see, you cannot feel? But I cannot say you cannot feel. You can actually feel through your own perception, okay? Because as you all know, this body is made up of form and mind, right? Nama rupa. So form, we know, is made up of the four elements, right? Fluid, solidity, liquidity, heat, and wind. The four elements combined together makes up this form. And mind, of course, as everybody knows, is about feelings, perception, mental evolution, and consciousness. All this working together represents our mind, right? So how do you know that there's a mind somewhere? Is our mind in our brain? Is our mind in our heart? It's an energy, yeah. So the simile that our teacher use is, can we see electricity? Can we see electricity? We can't. So we need something to let electricity manifest itself. So we have the lights, we have this mind working because of electricity, we have the what you call the monitors working, laptops working. That shows that there is the presence of electricity. So our teacher used to tell us, how do you know that there's a mind? Well, as the Buddha has mentioned, through this one phantom body of ours, we can see the whole world. And through this body, we know that the mind does exist. Why? Because it makes use of the mind. The so-called mind is presence, okay? It's not the mind making use of us. The presence of the mind can be felt through our six sense spaces. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, the intellectual mind. Yeah. So this is how we try to have an idea of what the mind is and what is meant by mind is the forerunner. So just now, what's your name again? I can't remember. Michelle, yes. Michelle was mentioning about a verse from Dhammapada. I'm going to actually read that verse in English, because if I read in Pali, all of you will just disappear from here. Okay, that's how good my Pali is. So I'm just going back to the very basic teachings of Lord Buddha and then try to refer it to our daily life usage. There's a little line here which I also want to emphasize also. The Dhammapada verse 1, okay? I think Dr. Jaya probably can recite it better than me. Verse 1, all mental phenomena have mind as their forerunner. They have mind as their chief, right? They are mind-made, okay? If one speaks or acts with an evil mind, dukkha, or suffering so-called, or unhappiness, follows him just as the wheel follows the hoof prints of the ox that draws the cart. That's the first verse. Okay. The second verse is, all mental phenomena have mind as the forerunner, they have mind as the chief, they are mind-made. Okay. If one speaks or acts with a pure mind, happiness or a pleasantness, right, follows him like a shadow that never leaves him. Okay, so again, to emphasize that everything is mind-made. When you want to come to BSV this morning, to BCM this morning, what happened first? Did you take the action to come first, or was it steered by the mind? Did it happen? Did you come here to BCM here without having the thought that, oh, I'd like to go to BCM this morning? Does that mind appears first or the action goes first? Right. That's why mind is the forerunner, mind is the chief. Everything is mind-made. So everything is mind-made is a very, very complex kind of topic that we can discuss, because everything that we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, or think, or feel, or whatever, they are all mind-made. It's all happening in the mind. And whatever we can visualize through the mind, it's not because we are actually right in front of that thing. Like, for instance, just now we were talking about McDonald's. There's no McDonald's here. But how is it that we can think of McDonald's in our mind? It's all recollection. That's why it's all recollection in where? In the mind. Yep. So that's why, you know, for us in the mundane world, we say that, oh, the mind is probably inside the brain, or the mind is inside the heart, the physical heart or whatever. But when we talk about Buddhism, we talk about mind and heart in the spiritual sense, not in the physical sense. Spiritual sense. That's what the Buddha meant by seeing the Dhamma. When you see the Dhamma, it's not seeing your brain or seeing your heart, but really seeing what is mind-made. And knowing that all these mind-made things, right, they are just part of a process of nature. I was trying so hard to understand Ajahn Brahm's teaching when he first came back from Thailand. Every time he talks to the monks during the Vasa period, he will always remind us that we are all part of nature. There's nobody in there. There's no driver in the bus. Let go. Everything is not real. I was trying very hard to understand that. I mean, theoretically, you seem to understand something, but practically, I still couldn't grasp the true meaning of it. Yeah. So I have been really going around listening to suttas from Mahayana, from Theravada, from Ajahn Brahm. I know Ajahn Brahm has seen something. I know that. That's why he gave that teaching. And it really aligns with some teachings from the Mahayana teachings too. That's why I spoke to Sunim Chikwan recently one day. We talked for almost 2 hours just about the true essence of Lord Buddha's teaching. What exactly is everything is mind-made? What is the mind? What is the function, purpose of the mind? Why are we here with a body and a mind? Yeah. So going through these two verses, I like to add another one here, the third one, which is also very well known by all of you. It is actually something that all of you can recite every day, not to do evil, to do all good. The last important third line is what Buddhism is all about. Purify the mind. This is the teachings of all Buddhas. Purify the mind. Not to do evil, any religion can teach you that, right? To a certain level. Yep. To do all good. Any religion can teach you that. Even a person without a religion understands that unless they really don't believe in cause and effect, they don't believe in karma. So these 3 verses are my topic for today's discussion. So of course, the first verse, there's a story behind this when the Buddha uttered that verse where he says that, if one speaks or acts with an evil mind, okay, sometimes I don't consider ourselves evil. It's just that sometimes we are not wise enough to have what they call compassionate and skillful mindset or something that is pure in our mind. So whatever we do or whatever we speak, the results of it will follow us just as the wheel follows the hoofprints of the ox that draws the cart. So there's a story here, okay? There's a story here. I think some of you may remember. Now, let me see the story. I really have to refer to this because I can't remember all the stories. Sometimes I get them mixed up with the Mahayana and Theravada, so I better have something to refer to. Okay, the story of Thera Chakrapala. While residing at the Jetavana Monastery in Savatthi, the Buddha uttered this verse, with reference to Chakrapala, a blind Thera. Remember the blind Thera who killed insects while walking? Okay, what happened was that on one occasion, Thera Chakrapala came to pay homage to the Buddha at the Jetavana Monastery. One night, while pacing up and down in meditation, walking meditation, the Thera accidentally stepped on some insects. In the morning, some bhikkhus visiting the Thera found, Thera means the monk, okay, someone who is more than 10 vasas, okay, it's called Thera. If you are a monk on a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, right, you must have received your higher ordination in order to be called a Thera or Mahathera. So one who finishes 10 vasas is called a Thera. One who finishes 20 vasa, completes 20 vasa, you are called a Mahathera. Not Maha-terrorist, okay? Yeah, Mahathera. Okay. So in the morning when some bhikkhus visited the Thera, they found some dead insects. So they thought ill of this Thera and reported the matter to the Buddha. The Buddha asked them whether they had seen the Thera killing the insects. When they answered in the negative, the Buddha said, "Just as you had not seen him killing, so also he had not seen those living insects. Besides, the Thera has already attained arahatship. He could have no intention of killing, and so was quite innocent." Okay, so on being asked why Chakrapala was blind, although he was an arahat, the Buddha told the following story. Chakupala was a physician in one of his past existences. Once he had deliberately made a woman patient blind. That woman had promised him to become his slave together with her children if her eyes were completely cured. Fearing that she and her children would have to become slaves, she lied to the physician. She told him that her eyes were getting worse when, in fact, they were perfectly cured. The physician knew she was deceiving him, so in revenge, he gave her another ointment which made her totally blind. As a result of this evil deed, the physician lost his eyesight many times in his later existences. So the Buddha actually uttered this verse. After telling the story of this, he uttered this verse. So it all points out to what the mind is capable of. Whether the mind is capable of doing wholesome or doing unwholesome deeds is all in the mind. The mind is a forerunner. So it's up to us to decide whether we want to use that so-called presence of the mind in a wholesome or unwholesome way. But be ready to face the consequences. That's it, right? Be ready to face the consequences. Okay, so for the second verse, it has another story there. Verse number 2, where you have happiness or pleasantness, pleasant results following him, like a shadow. The story of Mata Kundali. While residing at the Jetavana Monastery in Savatthi, the Buddha uttered this verse with reference to Mata Kundali, a young Brahmin. Mata Kundali was a young Brahmin whose father, Ajahn Brahm, was very stingy and never gave anything in charity. Even the gold ornaments for his only son were made by himself to save payments for workmanship. I hope none of us is like that. Okay. When his son fell ill, no physician was consulted, oh my goodness, until it was too late. So when he realized that his son was dying, he had the youth carried outside onto the veranda so that people coming to his house would not see his possessions. On that morning, the Buddha, arising early from his deep meditation of compassion, saw in his net of knowledge Mata Kundali lying on the veranda. So when entering Savatthi for alms food with his disciples, the Buddha stood near the door of the Brahmin Ayya Upekkha. The Buddha sent forth a ray of light to attract the attention of the youth, who was facing the interior of the house. The youth saw the Buddha, and he was very weak. And as he was very weak, he could only profess his faith mentally, mind. But that was enough. When he passed away with his heart in devotion to the Buddha, he was reborn in the Tabatimsa celestial world. Okay? From his celestial abode, the young Mata Kundali, seeing his father mourning over him at the cemetery, appeared to the old man in the likeness of his old self. He told his father about his rebirth in the Tabatimsa world and also urged him to approach and invite the Buddha to a meal. At the house of Ajahn Brahm, the question of whether one could or could not be reborn in a celestial world simply by mentally professing profound faith in the Buddha without giving in charity or observing the moral precepts was brought up. So the Buddha willed that Mata Kundali should appear in person. Mata Kundali soon appeared fully decked with celestial ornaments and told them about his rebirth in the Tabatimsa world. Then only the audience became convinced that the son of the Brahmin Ajahn Brahm, by simply devoting his mind to the Buddha, had attained much glory. Everything is mind-made. You don't have to go bowing to the Buddha 1,008 times every day. If you want to do it, it is okay. Please do it. But don't do it thinking that I bow 108 times each day or I chant Namo Tassa 1,000 times a day, I'll become fully enlightened. I don't think it's possible. Yeah, you have to purify the mind. With a pure mind, you see, like this Mata Kundali, yeah? With a pure mind, with his pure mind, he had this faith and devotion in the Lord Buddha, and he was reborn into the Tabatimsa celestial world. Okay, so again, it goes back to the verse where do no evil, do all good, purify one's mind. That third statement there by all Buddhas. That is the uniqueness of the Buddha's teaching, purify one's mind. Now, I was actually going to refer to one verse here. There's a line which also emphasizes on the purification of the mind. And through what? Okay, this is actually at the end, at the end, a lot of times at the end of taking 5 or 8 precepts, one of the teacher or the monk or the nun will actually recite this in Pali or in English, but sometimes I just do a shortcut and didn't go through it. So actually at the end of each 8 precepts or 5 precepts, the monk or nun will say, these are the 5 or 8 training precepts, and these next 4 lines are actually what is spoken by the monk or nun. Through virtue, they lead to happy rebirth. Because when we observe precepts, it's actually developing the virtues in ourselves, right? Through virtue, they lead to happy rebirth. Through virtue, they lead to prosperity. Now, some people actually ask us, Ayya Upekkha, what do you mean through virtue it leads to prosperity? Why are we talking about money here? Prosperity doesn't just come with money. It comes with a lot of other blessings in many forms, right? Some of us are not very rich. We are penniless monks and nuns. We are still happy. We are so prosperous. We have everything that is needed. So prosperity doesn't just come in the form of having a lot of wealth and all that. Do you think that all wealthy people are happy? Yeah, you can see for yourself. I mean, we have come from families where there are lots of people with multi-million, some are billionaires and all that. Oh my goodness, do you think they're happy? And then sometimes I can't help but really sort of like sympathize with the what do you call the family, the royal family in the UK. My goodness, what are they going through? I don't call that happiness. You have everything. You can flash your diamonds, you have your tiaras everywhere. Are you happy? Oh no, I don't think so. I feel I'm very happy. I don't have all those things, right? So it doesn't come with just money or status or everything. Prosperity can come in many forms, okay? All right? And then we are just not talking about money, okay? All right? You can be very prosperous, you can be wealthy. Yes, that's part of your prosperity, but there can be prosperity in other things also. And then, of course, it leads to a happy rebirth. Yes, of course, because that is cause and effect. The Buddha says that with good precepts, you can be reborn into the Deva realm. Yep. Or if you have good jhanic stages, you can be reborn into those jhanic realms and all that, the Rupa and Arupa lokas. Yep. And then, of course, through virtue, they lead to liberation. What is meant by liberation? It means you awaken to the truth taught by the Buddha, the universal truth taught by the Buddha. Okay? So that's why I prefer the word awaken. The Buddha is an awakened being. Yeah? Enlightenment, sometimes you just use the word enlightenment and people start to think of, someone who's wearing a round aura, bright lights around them, shining like a fairy and all those things. Yeah, Devas too, they do actually appear in those kind of forms, Devas, right? Because they have very pure virtues and all that. But when we talk about leading towards liberation, it means that we are fully awakened to the teachings of the Buddha about the existence of this body and mind and what is actually truth out there in the universe. Yeah? So it's a very profound teaching by Lord Buddha. Okay? We have to learn the essence of the teaching of Lord Buddha, not just by external forms. Most of us, we have been discussing this with Ajahn Nisarono and other. Most of us, sorry to say, even including monastics, we are just petting at the bark of the tree, on the bark of the tree. Yeah. We think we are very good people, but we are not purified yet. So it doesn't mean we can be liberated, right? So all this kind of overestimation on our own part, doing good and being attached to the goodness we have done, without me this would not have happened. Hey, come on. What did the Buddha teach us? Cause and effect, conditions coming together. If you want to do something, for instance, coming here to listen to a Dhamma talk today, without the BSV's building, without all our support group here, without all of you here, without the nuns' presence, without a lot of electricity, a lot of reasons coming together, do you think this talk can happen? There are so many conditions coming together. So whoever says that without me, this would not have happened, I would say, good luck to you. You are so egoistic and arrogant. That is not the Buddha's teaching. And to label yourself as, I'm a Buddhist, I'm pure. Come on, who are you kidding? Right? So I always remind myself, no labeling of myself as anything. Okay? Reminding the nuns who are learning, don't think that you are so great just because you are shaven-headed, wearing a robe, people bowing to you, you think you are so great. I'd rather that people don't bow to me, because am I worthy of all your veneration? Am I worthy of all the support that you're giving me? Have I really done my part to be an Aryang Sangha? All these things have to be reflected on again and again and again, especially by those of us who are wearing the robes. Yeah. And this is the reason why I really like Ajahn Brahm's teaching of how to be humble and respectful, not only to your teachers who have brought you onto the path of Dhamma, but also to those people who are here supporting us. Don't treat them as second-class citizens. Being a monastic is not to be high and lofty, to be treated like kings and queens, prince or princesses. It doesn't sit well with the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha was so humble. Look at Ajahn Brahm, he's so humble. And this is the reason why we are so blessed to have Ajahn Brahm as our teacher. He shows by example. He always asks the monastics, are you walking your talks? You don't come here and sit down and tell, be humble, be respectful, and then Ayya Upekkha is acting like, I'm the Almighty God, you have to really venerate me, you have to give me this special thing, you have to really take care of me, you have to really, meet all my demands. I want to fly to Paris, I want to fly to Great Wall of China, your ticket must be there for me. We have seen things like that. It's so sad that monastics are behaving like this nowadays. I'm sorry, I don't think many people like to hear all these things coming from a monastic mouth, but this is something that is happening, which we have experienced, and which a lot of lay people are complaining about. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm going to be very truthful, and this is the reason why all these practices by Lord Buddha has to be reflected upon again and again and again and again, especially by us monastics who are totally dependent on all of you for support for our livelihood, to maintain this body so that we can actually practice. We don't depend on you to give us everything, and then we behave worse than a lay person. There is a verse in the Vinaya rules which mentions very clearly, just as kusa grass wrongly grabs, cuts the hand, a samana's life wrongly lived drags one down to hell. That is good enough to remind us, hey, be vigilant, be mindful of our practice. So everything is mind-made. How are we going to practice well? It's all from the mind, right? Is my mind going to steer me towards being an arrogant, hard to please, hard to support monastic? Or is my mind going to steer me towards being a Sangha member whom the Buddha praised is worthy of offerings, whom the Buddha has mentioned will be a field of merits for all of you and for whoever takes care of us. So all these things are all in the mind. It's all in our mind, right? No one is supposed to be better than another. Although in the mundane world, you have certain skills, you are better, but we really rejoice that you have those skills to help us. Like you see, without the AV team here nowadays, you think people from other parts of the world can really tune into us, to our teachings? Not that. We may not be there with them physically, but at least they are able to hear some kinds of teaching according to their time of convenience. Right? So all these things, without all this support, the Sangha member alone can't do it. We are so interdependent. We are so interdependent. That's why the mind has to be pure. So this line here, therefore one should purify the virtue. Virtue leads to happy rebirth, leads to prosperity, leads to liberation. Therefore one should purify virtue. Where is the virtue from? It's all mind-made too. So what do you mean purify your virtue? I'm practicing 8 precepts today. I'm very special today. Here I am. You have to do this for me. You have to do that for me. Don't come and disturb me. Da 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 da. That is not purification. Okay? So we also talk about those who are giving dana. In Newbury, in the beginning, when people actually mentioned to us that, Ayya Upekkha, today is my dana, make sure there's no one else offering on the day I'm offering dana. Oh. It's again in the Dhammapada. If you stop a person from offering a dana, right, you are doing two things. You are stopping a person from a good act of merit. You are stopping the recipient, the potential recipient, from receiving something that they may need. So all these are mind-made. Our mind has been so complicated since so many rebirths in so what you call the beginningless time. That is like a tongue twister for me. Yeah. Our mind has been so complicated for so long. So what is cultivating the mind? What is the meaning of cultivating the mind, purifying the mind? What is that? Just by doing good? Doing good means I want to come back to samsara again, but hopefully with better conditions. Or maybe if you do extremely good, then maybe we can go to the Deva realm, which is not bad, it's good. Because when you're in the Deva realm, you don't have to go through a lot of suffering, but you still need to come down one day. Yeah. So what is the meaning of everything is mind-made? So again, why do we have so much suffering in our lives? Why? The Buddha's teaching is very clear. It's because of the 5 aggregates of clinging. The 5 aggregates of clinging, from how I understand, okay, from the teachings that I listened to Ajahn Brahm and my Chinese teachers and all that, I've more or less come to this conclusion. It's really the 5 aggregates of clinging that cause us so much suffering, not only to ourselves, but also to the people around us, right? Clinging to the form. I mean, this is very simple for us to really understand. You know, we can just imagine when we were born, how did we look like? A little baby growing up through the process of all those things. All the changes taking biologically and the formation being different. Looking at the form, you can really understand that it's impermanent. Okay? But do we still not cling to the body? Do we not? In the morning, what do we do? First thing in the morning, we make sure we clean ourselves up so that we look good, we smell good, okay? And also we feel good, all those things, this body. How much money are the companies who are doing, what do you call that, beauty products? How much money are they earning from all of us because we want to make sure this body really looks good? There's nothing wrong with looking after our body. It is a necessity. Because without a good body, without a good healthy body, we can't practice. Because unless we are arahants, otherwise when the body is ill, it becomes a hindrance for our practice. How many of us can really behave like the arahants? Okay, when you read the Bhujangas and all that, when the arahant is sick, they just read the 7 factors of enlightenment and the arahant becomes cured of the sickness. How many of us can do that? We can't, because why? We cling to the body. We cling to the feelings. We cling to the perceptions that we have been conditioned with. We cling to all our sankharas, the intentions, or what we call the wills and all those things. We cling to all those things. And the consciousness, which actually is being aware of all these clingings, all that, we also cling to that. That's why we cling and cling and cling and cling. Cling through what? Through the mind. It's all through the mind, okay? I'll just give us another example. Someone who really has hurt us. How many of us has never been hurt by another person? We always feel that somebody has hurt us, right? Of course, the Buddha's teaching is that the person can be hurting you, but you yourself don't allow yourself to be hurt. But that's another profound teaching. Unless we can really see the truth, we are not able to come to that level. As monks and nuns, we are trying our very best. Unless we have seen non-self, unless we have seen emptiness, please don't mistake emptiness to be nothingness. It's not that. Emptiness means knowing causes and conditions. Emptiness means not being attached to something that has happened through our mind. Let go, let go, let go. That's the teaching of all teachers. Let go, let go, let go. Let go of what? Let go of a lot of things, right? So in meditation, our teacher always tells us, let go, let go, let go. What about our daily life? Do we let go of all this clinging? No, we all cling to our aggregates, our 5 aggregates. We cling to them. And it's all mind-made. Mind-made, okay? All right, one very easy example. Somebody has done us wrong. Yes, for that moment, we feel angry, we feel upset, right? That's it. Because we are still not holy people. It's a natural reaction of anyone with a mind. You cannot say, oh, I'm a Buddhist, I shouldn't be angry. I'm a Buddhist, when my loved one dies, I shouldn't cry. Are you able to control yourself? Because these are processes of nature. Unless we are awakened, you have emotions, you have feelings. Unless we see things as the Buddha has seen it, as the Arahant has seen it, we will have all these reactions. How many of us can do that? I'm not saying that we have to continue doing that. What I'm trying to say is, I'm reminding myself nowadays, whatever comes out, right? Clinging to my feelings, clinging to my perceptions, clinging to my intentions and wills of doing certain things in certain ways, and clinging to the consciousness that is actually happening, is the awareness of what is all happening together. I now try to remind myself, hey, Upekkha, these are all mind-made things. They are external to the mind. They are things that have already happened. You should be able to try to let go of it. Live in the present moment. That's the teaching of all Buddhas. Live in the present moment. Ajahn Brahm has so many quotes in his books. Live in the present moment if you want to find peace and happiness. Living in the present moment. But every time we are doing something, our mind goes back to the past, our mind goes into the future. It's very hard for us to live in the present moment, right? So that mindfulness there, we are all here to train mindfulness, right mindfulness, with clear awareness. It's all mental. It's all mental efforts, right? Mental efforts which will manifest itself through speech, through bodily behavior. So we always try to cling to the five aggregates. I finally realized that what is causing us so much suffering is really all our clinging to the five aggregates and refusing to understand that the true nature of this world is actually things being impermanent, is always changing, right? Sometimes in the community, like where we are living in Newbury, within one day, you can hear how many changes for one event, okay? For instance, somebody wants to maybe clean, we'll take the most recent case. We want to clean the construction site. Somebody was supposed to do it, but that somebody couldn't fulfill it. So we were told, are you able to get some volunteers? Can the nuns do something? Right. So we decided, okay, this is the plan. Let's go and approach somebody, hoping that this somebody can do it. But eventually when you approach that somebody says, so I'm so sorry, I'm not able to do it today. Right? Or maybe you have to pay me so much so that I can do it for you. So change of plan. Okay, nuns, what do we do? Okay, hey, Ayya Upekkha, this weekend there are going to be lots of volunteers coming in because it's a long weekend. Okay, then we sort of think, well, the people who are coming in, they are always our regular volunteers. They don't mind working hard. They don't mind working dirty. All right? So we plan. Okay, so we plan for that day, for the things to happen, right? During the course of the day, when things are happening, this person may want to do this way, that person may want to do another way, right? So there's so much changes in our life every day. Every day. Are we able to be, like what our teachers used to say, water taking the shape of the container that they're poured in? Meaning, are we able to be adaptable and acceptable to changes that take place in our lives? It's very hard, isn't it? It causes us a lot of suffering, right? When I want to do something and somebody comes in and say, hey, no, Ayya Upekkha, you got to do it that way. And I feel that, no, that way is not a good way. My way is better. Then, of course, there will be some kind of discussions. Then sometimes it can lead to heated arguments and other things. So what do we do in that period of time? One of us needs to step back. So again, this is all mental. Even wanting to step back from the decision making, okay, if you find that you really want to do it that way, someone has to say, okay, you do it your way. And then we just do it according to that way, especially when that person is in charge. We need to comply with their decision making if they have been given the authority to take charge. So this is all mind-made. Everything is about mind. It's just a difference of mind, opinions and approach and all those things. It's different. Unless it's something that really leads to what called a stage of choosing between danger or not danger, risking somebody's health, or something like that, which is very serious. Yes, then somebody with wisdom should say, hey, please don't do that, because this is what you're going to experience later on. That is our duty. If we do not know what's going to happen, fine, it's okay, because we are not neglecting the situation then. But if you find that there's a lot of changes, and the changes is leading towards some harm, which you can really foresee, please step forward and say, hey, I think if you do it this way, this is the probable consequence that we're going to face. Can you please reconsider? And if the decision maker says, no, I'm still going ahead, you please stay out of it, don't interfere, don't interrupt, who are you? Then yeah, let it be. And we just pray that the things go well. If the things don't go well, then the person who makes the decision has to bear responsibility and be answerable to it. We need to do our part. We don't just see that, hey, somebody is going to be burnt by the fire. It's not my duty. I shouldn't interfere. Let them be burnt. That's not wisdom. That's not compassion. That's not loving kindness. So very often, our nuns, our devotees always come to us, Ayya Upekkha, after learning Buddhism, I still do not know where to draw the line. What should I do in this kind of circumstances? Where do I stop myself from offering help and all those things? Because sometimes when you offer help and want to do things your own way, the other party may not be happy. So again, all these things are talking about different kind of mental phenomena coming together, different kind of mindsets coming together. So at the end of the day, we have to really respect the person who is supposed to be the decision maker. Yeah, don't prove that I'm better than you, because you're going to give the other person a lot of difficulties. Stepping back is actually going forward. So this is another good lesson that I learned from our Chinese teachers. When it comes to what is that called a stalemate or something, where you cannot come to a compromise, somebody must step back. If two of us are, on a path, very narrow path, one wants to come across here, one wants to come across there, and we're stuck in the center. If both of you are waiting for one another to let go and to give way, and nobody wants to do that, you are stuck there. But if one of us decide that, okay, I want to move aside, or at least I retreat so they can go forward, then we ourselves can go forward once the other person has gone through. So again, these are all mindsets. Everything is mind-made. What we want to do, whether we want to have more difficulty for others, I'm going to challenge you until you resign. I'm going to challenge you until you give up on me. I will be number one. You cannot be under me. I don't want you to be at this in this kind of society or whatever. There are so many things going on like this everywhere. Charitable organizations, Buddhist organizations, religious organizations, everywhere you have people together, all these things happen. This is samsara. We just got to accept it. Samsara works this way, right? But we don't have to be part of samsara working that way. We can step back and be different. We follow the Buddha's teaching, purify our mind, right? So not clinging to the aggregates is so important. Let's just take feelings, okay? How many times have we been so-called hurt by another person? The hurt, sometimes it's not physical hurt, it's what hurt? Mental hurt, correct? A lot of times we either retreat, but are we able to really forgive? It's very hard. So we are all trapped in that mental trap of anger, hatred, vengeance. If I don't take vengeance on you, I will not be who I am. This is a lot of what I call unwholesome mindsets in a lot of us. Yeah. So who can really purify the virtues? It's those who are really humble, respectful, grateful. Those who want to be a nobody. But even the very notion, someone says, Ayya Upekkha, even the notion of wanting to be nobody is still a desire. Yes, it's true. It's just like, I want to follow the Eightfold Path, right? I want to follow the Noble Eightfold Path. Don't you need to have that mindset to really want to follow the Eightfold Path before you can really complete the Eightfold Path and let go? You cannot say, I don't want to follow the Eightfold Path because this is a desire. We have to desire for good things. We have to. There must be a goal for us to do something. You want to come to BSV, at least you must have an idea where BSV is. Otherwise, you'll be going in the wrong direction, right? So we must have a goal, but while we have a goal, we also have to prepare ourselves to be ready for changes to take place. What if you come to BSV and suddenly there's a traffic jam due to some accidents or what? You are going to be late. You are not going to curse and swear, what bad karma, da 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 da. It's just a situation we're faced with, right? We don't have to add more to the mental suffering of all the sufferings that we are already going through. So there are many, many areas of how we should let go. And again, once again, every time I speak about letting go, I always remember Ajahn Brahm's teaching. Yeah, I always enjoy his teachings, especially those recordings that he gave to us for monastics during the Vasa period. I think some of you have stayed there, you have listened to it. It's so impactful. It really penetrates deep into your heart, and it really makes you sit up and say, hey, have you really done that reflection? Are you sure you're a good person? Are you sure you're practicing Buddhism? That's the impact that we have to really feel. And then we really sit up and say, oh, oops, I think I didn't do it so well, that area probably needs to brush up a little bit. And that area I totally must let go. I shouldn't be like that. It's not going to help me in my cultivation or purification. So all these are very honest and courageous kind of reflections that we ourselves have to make. Yeah. If we wait for somebody, hey, Ayya Upekkha, if you see me doing something not really good, please let me know. Yeah. If I say, hey, this is not wholesome. What do you mean it's not wholesome? This is what I am. Take it or leave it. And no more friendship there. This is the experience that we have. So nowadays, if you find that a person is teachable, you teach. If you find that a person cannot be taught, you don't teach. But you have to find ways how to deal with situations where the person is causing a lot of conflicts or disruption in the community. So it takes a lot of skillful means, a lot of compassion, a lot of wisdom, and a lot of Kalyanamitta's support. One person can't do anything by themselves. We are all interdependent. We are all interdependent. Yeah. So one thing that we have to understand is that whatever mental wavelength we have is going to cause ripple effects outwards towards people around us, near us, around us, further away. It's just like you touch the water in a river or a pond. It's going to cause ripple effect. Yeah. So the mental energy is so important in us, positive or negative. I'm quite sure all of you here has the experience of going to a certain place and you don't feel comfortable, right? You just don't feel comfortable to be in that place. You don't understand why, but you just don't want to be there. There are certain people who, when you sit together or have some kind of conversation or that, you find that your energy is totally sapped, drained. Why? A lot of us don't understand too. What's happening to me? Why do I feel so tired after talking to this person? All these are energies. We are all energies working with energies. Devas are energies. Petas are energies. We have our own energies. And where did all this come from? It's from mind. The mind that manifests itself through this body, through the speech, through the bodily actions, through our six sense bases. This is how I come to understand, after really looking for answers to Ajahn Brahm's statements, that we are all part of nature. So, is nature as discriminating as us? Will the sun shine on good people and not on people who are not good? Will the rain just rain in Newbury and BSV and not in the neighbor's place? People having war in the country, right? How much can we do to help them? So many of us actually, including myself, I do have wishful thinking. Oh, may the leaders of each country never declare war. It's so cruel. Why do they want to do it? It's all wishful thinking, but I still sometimes I'm trapped in this stage because it's so hard to imagine people suffering from war, from starvation, from sickness, no medication, hospitals are bombed. buildings are bombed, transportation are bombed, everyone is trying to bomb one another. What's the result? For what reason? I just can't understand why people are doing it. Although, at the back of my mind, I still remember another teaching that my teacher used to give. As long as killing of animals and insects and all that is not stopped, the notion, the seed of killing is already planted in our consciousness. Whether we're a human being or a wild animal or whatever, that seed of killing is in our consciousness. Unless we eradicate that seed of consciousness, harming or killing in our consciousness, there will always be war. Because whether you are a human or animal, that seed of killing is always there. This is the reason why we need to purify our mind. This is the reason why we need to purify our virtues. They are all mind-made. Everything is mind-made. Whether to do a good deed or to do an unskillful deed, it's all mind-made. Isn't that true? Can anybody deny that? The Buddha only speaks truth. The Buddha does not speak untruth. The Buddha didn't come into this world just to be revered as a Buddha. He has a purpose when he manifests himself to come as a Buddha to teach us. Mahayana say we have the pure Buddha nature. Theravada teaching says every one of us can become enlightened to the stage of arahantahood. Right? Vajrayana says the same thing. They have all of us, each and every one of us, has the Buddha nature. And for me, whether Theravada or Mahayana, it's all speaking about the same thing. We all can purify our mind. With the total purification of our mind, we can become awakened to the truth that is taught by the Buddha. So there are certain suttas in the Sanyutta and Anguttara. I haven't had the chance to really read through all the books in the Nikayas. Okay, I'm still stuck in the Anguttara. I think I have probably forgotten those earlier books that I've already read. But many of the suttas, they actually does focus on purification of the mind, right? For those who are entirely new to Buddhism, yes, the Buddha has to teach certain skillful means for them to be drawn into the doors of Dhamma. But when the Buddha says, when you see Dhamma, you see me, it's not saying, oh, I'm doing something good. When I'm doing something good, I see the Buddha. No, the Buddha is referring to all of us actually have the potential to become awakened. We must have that confidence that we can be awakened. But why are we not awakened after listening to so many years of Dhamma? Why are we not experiencing some stillness of mind after practicing meditation for so many years? Why? Because we have not convinced ourselves that we need to get out of our habitual tendencies, the unwholesome habitual tendencies. Whether monks or nuns, laymen or laywomen, we have that potential to be purified. We also have the potential to not be purified. It's all a matter of what your inclination is. Yeah. So all these things are what I really feel convinces me that this is why the Buddha appeared in the world. Why are we born and be reborn again and going through the whole process again, from being born, growing up, going to school, getting good grades, otherwise you get dukkha from your family, and then going into society. If you're careful, you go into good friendship. If you're not careful, you're drawn into drugs and sex and all those kind of unskillful things which ruins your whole future. Why? Why? It's all the inclination of the mind. It's all the inclination of the mind. So these are things that we need to constantly reflect on. What, do I really want peace and happiness in my life? Right? Or do I need to be somebody to impress other people by doing a lot of things? It's up to us to choose, right? Although the notion of there's nobody there is all a process of nature, but there's what we call the stream of consciousness flowing along, life after life after life, and changing according to conditions. It's not the same consciousness because, as a baby until now, how much changes has happened throughout the course of our growing up since our birth. So all this consciousness thing is nothing that is fixed. It's always changing. And that's the reason why we are able to change to become a purified person. If nothing is changing, when we are actually not skillful or wholesome, then we are fixed. We are going to suffer for the rest of our future lives. No. The Buddha mentioned that it's all a process of nature. If we follow Mother Nature, who is not discriminating, Mother Nature will never say, hey, on this piece of land here, if you pour on me, I'm going to swallow you up. No. If you give me something good, I'm going to flower for you. No. Mother Nature is never discriminating. And that's the teachings by Lord Buddha. We have to be not to have the mind of duality. Because mind of duality comes because we have that ego, we have that self. So for many, many rebirths before, we have already sort of like indoctrinated ourselves with all these kind of wrong views. That's why we always enjoy talking to Bhante Arana Vihari. Right view. You must have right view. You must have right intention. Otherwise, you cannot be pure. You cannot cultivate. How true it is, isn't it? How true it is. What is right view? Right view is something that leads us to liberation. What is liberation? Awakened. We are all still in dreamland because of our habitual habits, which we cannot convince ourselves to get out of us. I'm like this. You take it or leave it. This is what I'm going to be. But I'm going to do a lot of dana. This is my good deeds. No. If you read the Visakha Upassana suttas and all those kind of suttas, what did the Buddha say? You can be giving a lot in dana, but it's only 1/16th part of practicing metta or sila or whatever. But you got to practice with purification. You don't just say, oh, today is Uposatha day. This is the day that I go and sit in the meditation hall to observe my 8 precepts. I can be sleeping there, snoring away, but I'm still considered observing my sila. What kind of effort is that? So the Buddha actually has mentioned different kinds of observing the seal days. Yeah, whether you're doing it for a purpose, like one of those that I remember is I'm observing my seal day, especially for women. Okay, women. I'm observing my seal days because if I observe my seal days, may I never be sharing my husband with another lady. That's one of the reasons. Okay, may my children be filial to me. That's the second reason. May I be prosperous by observing the seal day. Oh, it talks about prosperity. You are not wrong there, in a sense, right? So you come to observe your seal days with different kind of reasons, except for one. May I be able to be awakened to the truth taught by the Lord Buddha. Many of us make this aspiration. As Ajahn Brahm used to joke, you see people sitting in meditation, you read about Lord Buddha's teaching that unless, even if my blood dries up and if my bone turn to dust and all that, I will not get up from this place until I become enlightened. Many of us actually, including me, okay, when I first read that, wow, what a terribly good, wholesome aspiration and vow. I want to do that. Within 10 minutes, whoops, my eggs are leaking like crazy, my back is like bending forward, and then I realized, hey, it's not easy to be the Buddha. You have to put in the effort slowly, stage by stage, purify ourselves stage by stage, until we are able to bear with a lot of external pain, bodily pain, which is not connected to mental pain. As the Buddha has mentioned, the 2 darts, remember? The bodily dart and the mental dart. Are we able to reach that stage where the mental dart does not harm us or cause us suffering? These are things that even we monastics have to practice towards. Okay, we are not just talking about lay people. We are talking about those in robes too. The Buddha's teaching is not only for people in robes, but also for everyone. Yeah. So, what's the time now? My goodness. 10:42. Okay. One last question, okay? Just to emphasize that everything is mind-made. I once asked Ajahn Brahm, everything is mind-made, right? And we have been taught through the suttas that as a human being, when we do good, we will be able to create the causes for being born into the Deva realm. Right? So I asked Ajahn Brahm, since everything is mind-made, is it possible for a being who is in hell to be reborn into the heavenly realms? With a very confident yes, he told me this story. Okay, I may not be able to repeat what called verbatim, but I try to recollect as best as I can. He said that there was this story which I haven't come across yet. There was this story about this person who has been doing a lot of bad in his human life. So he was in hell. Now again, heaven and hell is also mind-made. There's another time to discuss, okay? Heaven and hell, whatever, is all mind-made, okay? The Buddha's teaching is that, but we tend to create something external that when I do this, I go to something that is outside this Mother Earth, and we go to another place called heaven. We go to another place called hell, which a lot of people say hell is down there, but if you point down there, down there is another part of another country. Yeah. So this story is like that. Ajahn Brahm say yes, this story goes like that. There's this human being who did a lot of bad, so he was in hell. When he was in hell, he actually had to go through repeated kind of torture. I don't know, I can't remember the kind of torture where his body was like pierced or dragged down or burned by fire. I can't quite recall because a lot of Mahayana stories talk about wrapping yourself around a pillar of spikes, wrapping yourself around pillars of fire and flame, and then you're born again and again and again, repeating yourself in all this kind of torture. So when this being in hell was actually going through this torturous process, he saw a lot of other beings lining up to be punished the same way he was supposed to be punished, right? So during that moment when he saw so many people so fearful of going through the torture but still lining up there, this person arose in him through his mind. He made this aspiration. May I be able to take the torture of all these people so that they don't have to be tortured and suffer pain, which I'm going through. Just this very thought. The moment he has this thought, he was reborn into the Deva realm. Everything is mind-made. I think many of us can experience this. Sometimes we are so angry with another person, and then we just tell ourselves, it's okay, let it go. I will want to forgive the person so that I'm not trapped in this anger myself. Because if you are angry with another person, the other person is not suffering. You are suffering. We are suffering ourselves because we are trapped in our anger. The moment we say, it's okay, he or she can continue to wrong me, it's okay. All of us are answerable to our karma. We are all heir to our karma. The moment you are able to say, it's okay, let it be, it's okay, I'm still going to treat this person well in times of necessity. Because when the person is not good to you, you try to help them, they will not want to accept your help. But there will be times when they are in a desperate situation where no matter whether they like it or not, your help will be appreciated by them. So as long as you give this kind of mindset that it's okay, let it be, I'm not going to be angry with this person anymore. I'll try my very best to overcome this trap that I set for myself. I'm going to try my very best to be nice to this person, but not allowing that person to repeatedly do the unskillful act towards us. So that comes with compassion and wisdom. The moment you have this kind of mindset, I tell you, you feel so light. You feel so delighted with yourself. Yeah, I managed to do it. And you're so pleased. You are so happy. All of us, at one time or another, probably would have gone through this kind of experience. Yep. Okay, so with that story, I conclude today's sharing. Is there any question? Any question?
Thank you, Ayya. We are running very late, and I
sorry. I didn't even notice it.
I did hold back the announcements, so maybe we will take some, maybe one question at least from the audience.
If there's any. It was just like
online.
Storytelling, yeah. No question? Okay, just take it as no question. We are running short of time.
Hi, Ayya. Thank you for the good discussion. There's a question from Richard online who says that they like to practice karate, but restrain themselves because They know that they, even though they don't have bad intention, it could still harm other people. So the question is one of karma. Is it not enough having good one, but also checking that there's no harm in the action? This is an example. What do you think?
Okay, karate. In fact, karate, martial arts, or whatever, it comes with a lot of self-discipline. A teacher will not accept a student, likewise with us, accepting students to become a monastic. We have to at least come to a certain level of standard that this person is not a person with revengeful attitude. Anyone learning karate or any martial form, any forms of martial art, they have to be very self-disciplined. They cannot have the intention to hurt others for self-defense. I think most of them actually have this kind of motto. Self-defense, yes, but not to initiate hurting others. Yeah, but because we are all having kind of spiritual maturity, why do you want to choose karate instead of meditation? Yeah, because sometimes unintentionally, the Buddha mentions about intention, right? Unintentionally, you may still hurt another person. But this is sometimes the inclination of the mind, what you want to do with your life. There are a lot of very bloody fights for titles and all those things happening, like wrestling and boxing and all those things. I don't understand why people want to do that. But it doesn't mean that I don't understand it won't happen. It will happen. It's all different people's mindset. Yeah. So, yeah. So what was the other thing about the karma that he was talking about? I answered that already. So I hope it answers your question. If you have the opportunity to choose something that is acting out of compassion and wisdom, choose that. Karate will not get us towards awakening. That's my answer.
Thank you, Ayya, for your talk today. That was a really powerful talk today. It was fantastic.